Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm very well. Do you know what? I didn't realize that these videos actually started going out. I know the videos are on YouTube, and I started to see them come up on Facebook, and I saw myself, and I'm like, oh shit, Doug looks really good, and he's got his camera nice and zoomed in, and I'm like, so now as I was with Bob on, I'm like, I'm
I
I'll
just
make
got,
a little bit more of an effort.
I'm not using it now, but I got a 4K camera as well. But I
Yeah,
decided not to use it because I don't want to scare the people that are actually watching these videos too
you've
much.
got an unfair advantage over me. Uh,
Good looking.
With
Yeah,
that.
it's true.
Well, there's a
Very
few.
true.
There's a few unfair advantages, but I've just learned to compensate in other ways. So
Yes, you have. We can go on about this for a long time, but Tim, today, one of the things I want to bring to the table is this has come up a number of times in guys in our free Facebook group have reached out, as well as a couple guys that are in the private alumni group. And that's that what to do when your wife is asking you to do too much, right? So let me set the scene for you. And I certainly know my take, and I'd love to hear yours. But guys they're busting their tails, right? They're doing the best they can. They're providing for their families financially, right? As soon as they get home from work, right? They're being with their kids, they're being present, they're really stepping up their game as modern men coming through there. And they're pretty much, they feel like they're full, so to speak. Their schedule's full, they're doing a lot. But then their wife comes to them and wants them to do even more. Well, why can't you do this? I want to go out with my girlfriends on Wednesday. I want to do this. I want to do that. Whatever it is, or asking them to do more around the house. Right. And so the guys are like, geez, I am doing so much. And a lot of these guys are coming back from the doghouse, right? They've been in the doghouse for a while and they're coming back. But now their partner is asking them to do even more. They've stepped up, they're a man, they're taking care of their business. And the partner keeps pushing the limits, adding things to their plates. What do you
mm.
say here, Tim?
uh,
I can't tell the podcasters what you just mouthed, but
there were two words. First one started with F. The second one started with O.
the second word you can say was off.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I just want to add a caveat to this as well, because he said something there. Right? The guys are coming back from the doghouse. This happens even when you're not in the doghouse, right?
For
Even when
sure.
you've not been in the doghouse for a long time, let's say, but this still it's no different, at least in my experience, anyway. So what do you say? There's a few things, right? I mean, I'll talk from my own experience. Um, it really depends because wow, there's various things that feed into it, right? From the aspect of shit tests, we've spoken about that, right? You should maybe ask him for more, and you can pierce it with playfulness if you're in the mood, and kind of let it wash off your back and not rise to it. And that's something that I sometimes do. But it takes a level of groundedness and presence to be able to do that, right? And honestly, I'm not always in that space because when I do feel like my capacity is full and I'm honoring my commitments and even going a little bit further than honoring my commitments, sometimes it can, and it's actually happened to me today, and it happened to me last week. And my response lately, I've been feeling a bit fatigued because I've had some strange allergy going on. And I've still been honoring my commitments, but I've been much less available for shit tests and much less tolerant of them as well. So in that situation, my reaction has really been one of firmness to protect my own boundaries. And I think last week it was along the lines of, look, just go away, just back off. I'm not in the mood right now to even entertain your constant questioning and judgment and guesswork. I'm doing it. I'll get it done. If it's not good enough for you, then do it yourself. There'll do something today because we're in the process of buying a house. So at that point, I said, look, I'm doing my best. It's all I can do. If it falls through, then so what? Whatever, I'm just, all I can do is my best. So kind of, again, back off kind of thing. So, I'm not saying that's necessarily the best way or the perfect way, but I think the underlying theme there for me that um, I think is a healthy thing is boundaries. Being able to really stand your ground. I didn't fly off the handle. I didn't start calling names or suggesting that she was being unfair or do you not see everything that I'm doing? You're doing nothing. I'm doing this. It wasn't like a keeping score thing. It was just a case of, hey, I'm doing my best. If it's not good enough, then tough kind of thing. But and back off because here's the line in the sand. And if you keep pushing this line, then you're gonna get something in response that you might not like. At which point, Amelia backed off both times. And also, we were able to stay quite connected in that place. 'Cause I think she respected it as well. I think women can sometimes be a lot like kids, and we don't have kids, right? But what I mean by that is they'll push the boundary and they'll test and see how far they can go. Um, I know in the past for me, I've allowed that boundary to be pushed, and the playfulness sometimes isn't always the best approach because it can be a bit soft. Um, so yeah, it's great when I love it when I reach that point though of like because it feels so rooted in masculinity, to just have such a detachment from her reaction of hey, this is my best, it's all I can do. If it's not good enough, then so be it. But I'm not going to stress myself out by boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and I think that you bring up a couple good points here, right? One is the need for boundaries, and I think men need to figure out what their boundaries are. Right?
Mm,
People will push them, and you can react based on different things. We were talking about this offline, like excess caffeine can cause people to be anxious, but also can cause
yep,
them to
yep,
react
yep.
really quickly. But then we can also look at this like, where are you coming from? Is it a shit test, right? A shit test being, is she testing you to see if you're going to stand strong, right? And guys that are newer to this concept, oftentimes women will test men to see, hey, if you don't stand up to her or stand up for what you believe in, then how can you stand up to protect her, right? How can you stand up to protect her family? Women do this subconsciously. It happens all the time. And the good news is it never ends. So that's definitely something that you can do. And also something that can be added in here, guys, is a process of energy, right? So you mentioned being grounded, right? And we call it, standing in your power for the powerful man. When we teach this to the men, we teach several techniques, when where guys are going through the activation method. But what that looks like is being really assured of yourself,
Mm,
having a sick child and not sleeping, words are harder, but being assured of yourself and where you're going. And, one thing that works really well for me, Tim, is taking an inquisitive approach, right? Taking a step back and,
That's so much easier said than done for me.
oh,
Like
for sure.
so much easier.
But when you're grounded, it's easy, right? But
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
everything else that if you do it with practice and you take the emotion out of it, it's super easy to do. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you that it doesn't happen all the time because if you get triggered, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, it's not even that. I think in terms of just where it ranks for me, my natural tendency, if I'm relaxed and just present, is to be playful with it. I'll still maintain a boundary through the playfulness. And then the second, there's really no curiosity that comes in. It's either playfulness or firm boundary. I'm not saying that it's curiosity would be a great thing for me to throw in there, but I'm
Sure.
just my two tend to be playfulness or firm back
Yeah,
off.
totally get it. And I was the same way. I've worked really hard on this over the years. But when I come at it with a place of curiosity, it changes the flow of the conversation quickly. Right.
Mm,
So, an example. So, my wife and I, gosh, when was it? Wasn't too long ago. Um, and she wasn't saying anything about me, but she was saying something else that she needed. Right. She needed more space, more time, et cetera, et cetera. And so I came at it from a place of curiosity, like, oh, really? So do you think that I should stop, doing one of the things that I'm doing? And just asked her a question for a really curiosity to understand. So my intent was to understand where she was coming from. What was the real issue here? And as we went through that, right? And I stood in my boundaries were drawn. I was just trying to get really clear on what was happening for her and what was occurring for her. So I could really
Mhm.
understand what the real issue was. So I'll use this as an analogy that a lot of our men will understand. Negotiations, right? Sales. I'm trying to find out what the real objection is. So if you're doing sales or you're negotiating, someone might say, I don't have enough time or I don't have enough money, right? The two most common objections in any negotiation, any sale, period, right? That's almost never the real issue. So you ask questions and you try to get to the root of what's the real thing that's going on here. And so that's what I mean by that curiosity. I'm trying to find out what's really going on here so I don't have to friggin' deal with this conversation again over and over again. Right. So, for example, it's like, oh, I don't have enough time. I need time away from the kids. Okay. That's okay. Interesting. I can understand that. Do you not feel we got you two babysitters? Is there a reason that's not happening? What's going on there? So I understand better. And coming at it from that nature, it really disarmed my wife. Right.
Mm.
She was disarmed because I was really curious. And I wanted, like you, I'm ready, like, okay, look, we got two babysitters. We did this, we did that. Da, 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 da. Your schedule's completely free. All of these things that you want to say. But I took a different approach, right? As soon as I had that natural reaction of wanting to snap, I went into it, like, let's figure out what's really going on here. Because I had an idea what was really going on. We had people staying with us for a little over a week, one of her best friends from, childhood. And she had taken on, in my opinion, the complaint of the other wife, right? She had taken that on. They were talking, and I can get into the whole story, but that's for another time. I did a Facebook Live of this for our private Facebook group for the guys.
Yeah, sorry.
But so I just took on, like, what's really happening here. Now, I have an idea what's happening, and of course, you know me, I'm going to try to lead that. But I try to go to the inquisitive approach and being very firm with my boundaries. Right, my boundaries never changed; they never moved. I stood solid with them, but I also wanted to get into her world, understand what was really occurring for her. And when I
Mm.
did that, when we achieved that, the next day, not that night, but the next day, my wife was extremely in her feminine, like extremely, right? I woke up, she was cheery, she was cooking breakfast for everybody, give me a kiss, coffee put on the right in front of me. All day was like that. That evening, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch a guy's movie by myself. I'm gonna be down, here where I am now. And we have a big screen TV back there. I'm gonna watch a guy's show. She came over. She brought me a drink. She came down later. She made me a healthy version of nachos, et cetera.
Mhm.
And she just give me a kiss. It's like, enjoy your time. I want to thank you for all that you do. I mean, she's been like that ever since.
Mhm.
But by
Mhm.
not reacting, what I want the guys listening to this to get through, by not reacting, now you can do what you do, have firm, boundaries for sure. Playfulness, I love it, right? That kind of playful banter that goes through. But by doing this and standing in your own power and your own energy, that allows her to then dip into her femininity. As long as she feels seen, heard, and respected, right? Those three things have to happen. And as men, all too often, right? This is what I used to do, Tim. You probably never have done it, but what I used to do is just react like, what do you mean? I'm busting my butt. I'm working so hard over here. You have all day with the kids. You can do this. They take naps. You have this free time here. You have the free time there. As soon as I'm done working, I come out of work and then I take the kids from you. So I don't ever get a break. So I don't want to hear what you're talking about. This is ridiculous. And now you want to get babysitters. What's going on? You get that
Mhm.
reaction. When you get past that stage by doing some of the things that we teach in the activation method, right? I revisit those teachings all the time. When you get past that stage and you're able to, I like the inquisitive approach. I know that's not your go to. There's different ways to get there, right? When you get
Yeah.
past that stage, your wife, your partner, it allows her to surrender to your masculinity, and not in a domineering way, but just allows her the reassurance to know that you're not reacting. And now you're taking a proactive stance. She's feeling seen because you're talking to her. You're seeing what's really going on. She's feeling heard because you're validating her, right? We have the hidden motives technique that we do that with, right? And she's feeling respected, right? Appreciated because you're talking, okay, what's going on? So now she can dip into her feminine nature, right? She knows you got her, right? Or at least you're trying to get her, and she can dip into that femininity and really be secure. And do you know what changed besides that, Tim, and what we did and handled how we ran our household? Nothing. Nothing. right? And so that's the difference. It's just that conversation that changed,
Mm.
right? We talk about that 1 degree of difference. You're a golfer. A lot of the guys golf, but if you swing that club and you hit the ball 1 degree different, it's a difference between slicing the ball or hitting it straight down the fairway. It's those little slight micro changes that make all the difference. Hidden motive technique is absolutely phenomenal for this.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize a point here because I've tried different approaches on this particular topic with Amelia, and I've noticed she doesn't respond as well to the curious tone. I think part of it for me is that it doesn't come across as the most authentic when I say, interesting, because that's not how we typically not how we communicate for the most part. Each couple has its own like communication style, right? Um, so I think the important distinction, there's two really. One is like you said, it's all about where you come from, right? You don't want to react because it's almost like here's what I'm doing not good enough, and you've got something to prove, and it's insecurity. You don't want to come from that place because the reality is women are always going to ask for more and more and more and more for the most part, right? Whatever it's more of your attention or more, whatever it is, that's okay. And the other distinction is, I think what you've said there about the curious, like being seen, being heard. You said one other thing there. Don't save that just for this context. For example, obviously you're aware of the daily check-in, right? The verbal check-in, that whole thing. Great to throw it in there. We've not discussed that on this show before, but just kind of a segue, a practice that we do on an evening is just checking in with each other's day. But point I'm making is this practice of validation to a degree is used there by Amelia and I a lot, which creates that container for her to surrender into her feminine, for me to be the masculine, and so on and so forth. So I think if you're listening to this, guys, um, my advice to you would be to try different approaches and see what works for you as well. And also take this into other areas as well. Take it into other contexts of interactions with your wife. Don't just use it when she's asking for more and you want to maintain a boundary, but see if you can use it and throw it in there as well. The curious frame, for example. See if you can throw it in there to just other conversations. Maybe she's got a complaint, something that she's complaining about. Not that she wants more of you, but just that she is unhappy with something, or that you walk in and it's kind of forms, like you said, part of the emotives technique. You walk in, the end of your day, you can see she's distressed. Been with the kids all day. Ask her, take this tone.
Yeah, and I agree. One thing that I'll also add on to this, or two things I'll add on to this, is one is realize your intent. So if you try the inquisitive approach, realize your intent because she's going to know your intent. So if you're pissed off and you're like, try to be inquisitive, it's not going to work.
No,
It's not
kind of
going
sounds
to work.
patronizing. I've
What?
tried it. It kind of sounds patronizing. I've tried it when I've been annoyed.
Well,
It
that,
just sounds like you've just been a bit
you're being a dick.
patronizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Huh,
that'll never work for you.
interesting.
Yeah.
She's fuming. You're fuming. It's like interesting. Really?
Yeah. And you don't have to use interesting, right? Use your own. I agree with you that every couple's going to have their own communication styles. I also think that you can take these methodologies and make them playful, or, it doesn't matter. You don't have to say interesting, right? That's just one we use a lot when we talk about validation because it's fun. But guys, what I'll tell you is, try different things, but also realize if it doesn't work, it may not be her, right? It may be you. And it may be, if it doesn't work, go back and look at it, write it down, go, okay, what was my energy? I was tense, I was angry, da, da, da. Okay, you're not in your power, right? When you're angry, you're reactive, period. End of story. And so one of the techniques that I'll use is I'll try, and when I'm angry, it's tougher, no doubt about it. I'll try to look at my wife like a little girl, right? So I've got a daughter, right? So if I try to look at my wife that way, it disarms it, right? It's like, okay, it's just a little girl. She's sad. She's feeling overwhelmed, stressed out about taking care of the kids. Is that true or false? Well, it's true for her.
Mm.
Okay. It's true for her. So let's see. I'm a guy. I'm going to solve this problem, but I can't go. I know I'm smart enough to know I'm not going to directly solve it. So I'm going to go in the back door and solve this problem. And I'm going to find out what's really happening for her.
Mm.
And that helps me because it keeps me less reactive. I'm still reactive. Like I was angry during that conversation, Tim. But I was very steadfast of like, look, and every time she brought up a point, I'm like, I understand it's the way you feel and let's find a way to do it because I'm not going to have this conversation again. Just not. Like, let's fix this now or let's not talk about it. Right. And so, Tim, like a lot of times I'll complain. I used to complain about being tired a lot. And then I just took being tired almost completely out of my vocabulary. I literally one day said, I'm not going to say it anymore. Said it once or twice in the last 3 months, but that's it in general. Just take it out. Like if you're going to complain about something consistently, you got to get rid of it. So a similar stance comes here with your partner, right? And if you're trying these different techniques, try the hidden motives techniques. Guy, if you don't have the hidden motive techniques, the one that we teach, you got to get it. You have to get it. It's just absolutely the Reignite cheat sheet. Another one, if you go over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus, you can get that right now. Try these. And if they don't work for you, realize it's probably the energy you're coming from because it's worked for thousands of other men that are just like you. So it's like baking a cake, right? You're baking a cake. You have the recipe. You look, there's like 1,000 5-star reviews for this cake and you make it and the cake's crap. It's horrible. You're like, is it the recipe that's wrong? Probably not, right? It's probably something that you're doing in the recipe. And that's why we have the activation method, right? It's a whole recipe and you get to work with master chefs to teach you how to bake it correctly, right? That's the key. But however, you can still try to bake the cake on your own. And we give you guys freely through this podcast and other resources, the ways to do it. But a lot of guys, and I used to do this, Tim, I'll use the cake analogy because I like it. I would put in way too much salt. I'd put in like the whole salt container in my cake, right? And then bake it and then come back later and then add the eggs. I was just doing it in different ways or trying to do it my own way, right? Because I knew better and it just never worked.
Yep, been there.
No, we all have. It's called being a guy. I know better, right? So guys, when you're looking at this, your wife's going, as Tim said, your wife's going to consistently ask you for more. You're going to ask more of her too. Nothing wrong with that. If she's asking you for more, that's a great thing because she trusts you, right? She's trusting you. If she's not asking you for more, now you got to be scared, be alarmed, right? Because there's something wrong. She does not trust you to be able to provide or trust you to be able to share. But if she's doing that, now try. You got to stand in your power. First, actually, you need to know your boundaries, stand in your power, and then use different techniques like the hidden motives technique or something else, Reignite cheat sheet, something along those lines to make sure she feels seen, heard, and then also that she feels respected along that. Now, respect's number one for us guys, but she also needs to feel respected. Seen, heard, and desired is usually the easiest way to think about it and going through. And then try it and realize what energy you have going into that conversation.
Yep. Love it.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, that's a wrap for us at The Powerful Man Show. As always, go over to thepowerfulman.com/bonus. That's thepowerfulman.com/bonus. And right now, again, you can get the Reignite cheat sheet up there. And that is a great place to start, guys, and getting your relationship restarted. All right, guys, have an amazing day. And always take action rather than just listening to this. We want you guys to get the results. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.